Well, good morning, folks. Good morning. You're watching the Couples Academy show. My name is Roland, and I will be your host on today. And we'll be talking about something that comes around quite often. That is almost like the silent killer in a sense. People don't want to talk about or kind of shy away from. And we're talking about signs someone is always playing the victim. Signs someone is always playing the victim. We know several people, I'm sure somewhere in our black book or not, that someone was always playing the victim. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always something wrong. It's always what happened to me, and so on and so on. So we'll talk about some signs that someone is always playing the victim. But before we get into that, we want to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you let everyone know that you are watching the Couples Academy show daily. We are here to meet your needs, talk to you, answer your questions on Ask the Experts on Friday. We are here for you. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And also, we want to make sure that we continue to lift up our leaders as we are sitting in for them. They pour in so much to others, and every now and then they have to be poured into, and however they see fit to do so, they get what they need, and we want to make sure that they do that as well. So we want to welcome you all this morning, and we'll be talking about the signs that someone is always playing the victim. How many times have you or I pointed the fingers at our brother or sister or the little cousin when we were by grandmother's house because something had broken, and we threw the stick and hit our hand and blamed it on someone else. It happens all the time. We see it with our children. Big brother does something and blame it on the little brother, or the little brother does something and blame it on the sister. And likewise, as adults, we do the same thing. It's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's problem. I am in the state that I am in because of someone else. And we have to move away from that. But we're going to talk about how you can recognize when someone is always playing the victim. And so let's get into it. The first thing is that the person, they don't take responsibility. They don't take responsibility. So oftentimes we find ourselves in situations, we find ourselves self-inflicted wounds where we have put ourselves in circumstances. We have failed to go after the pursuit of happiness. We have failed to go after our dreams. We have failed to do the things that we desire to do, but we do it at the expense of always blaming someone else. And whether we know it or not, people that do that, they waste so much time blaming where they are on someone else that they miss that the fact that they can be moving and doing the things that they really want to do. And so they blame other people because they don't want to take responsibility. And what is responsibility? The ability for a man to be able to respond, a man or woman to respond to any circumstance or any situation. And so taking responsibility gives us the opportunity to be mature. It gives us the opportunity to grow up. It gives us the opportunity to be cooperative with the state of life that we are in. And taking responsibility shows that we want more than what we have. If you want something that you've never had, you have to be willing to do something that you've never done. But as long as you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to continue to have what you have. What I'm saying, we have to take responsibility for the things that we want. And these are people that are always playing the victim. They never want to take responsibility. The next one is they are frozen in their life. What you mean frozen in their life? You know how they have some people that they feel like they're stagnant, or we like to say they peaked at high school or they peaked at college, meaning that those were the best times of their lives. And during that time, they were the greatest. They were the star athlete, or the captain on the cheerleading squad, or the dancer, or the majorette, or whatever. They were that. They were all of that and a bag of chips. But they never saw past that. They never reached outside of themselves to go beyond that. They literally got stuck. You know how you hear people say, that person dressed like they're stuck in the 70s or they're stuck in the 80s. Well, it is a real thing that people find themselves stagnated, stuck, and find themselves in a place that they are not growing. Anytime you have stopped growing, you literally have you're a dead man walking. We should all be teachable. We should all be willing to learn. We all should be willing to put in time, money, and effort to go beyond what we already know and explore the possibilities of what we don't know. And so these people that play the victim all the time, they are frozen. They are stuck in their ways. You know how they have those that say, they can't get out of their own way because they are stuck in their ways, are stagnant in their ways. And so these people, they do these things, and we have to recognize people that are stuck, and we can not call them out, but we can call them up. So that way they can move. And sometimes we need a little push. Sometimes we need someone to come behind us and encourage us and let us know that we can do all things and press towards a higher mark, right? And so we don't have to be stuck. It doesn't have to be the way of life. And we can make sure that we do things outside of ourselves to get to a better place. So we're talking about signs someone else is always playing the victim. We're just getting into it. We have more to unpack. We're going to go to a quick commercial, and we will be right back.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back. You are watching the Couples Academy show with me, Roland Bradley. I am here with you today. And listen, we're talking about signs that someone is always playing the victim. We know those folks. We know them. They always blaming someone else for their success or their lack thereof. And it's always someone else's fault. We don't want to take responsibility. We hold grudges. We do these things in ways that make other people feel like it's someone else's fault. And we know these people, and we have to call these people up, not call them out, but we have to call them up so that they can experience their best lives and move past the things that, are hindering them from living their best lives. So let's get into it. We're still talking about signs someone is always playing the victim. And the next sign is they hold grudges. That is a good one, a good one, not in a good way, right? Because we know those people that it's always, first of all, it's not just always somebody else's fault, but now they want to hold a grudge for them not being where they should be. We hold grudges against one another. We hold grudges against our past. We hold grudges against our parents. We hold grudges against our friends. Our friends have excelled and we seem to have fallen behind, and we would hold a grudge, literally walking around with bitterness in our hearts, have salty attitudes. We call it that nice, nasty attitude, that attitude just to function, but really they're holding a grudge against someone else for them not being where they are or where they desire to be. It's a crazy thing to have this attitude of feeling like, because I'm not where I want to be, I'm going to hold a grudge against someone else. That's the person that is always playing the victim, always having the attitude like it's somebody else's fault, always have the attitude like, I'm not where I want to be, so I'm going to blame it on the world. I'm going to blame it on this man, that man, my job, my this, my that, instead of just doing the work that is necessary to move past where we are. So those people, we can see them a mile away. They're holding the grudges. They have that attitude on their face. They walk around mad all the time. I mean, like all the time, they're mad. And that's that person that is literally walking around with an attitude for no reason, but other than the fact that they're holding a grudge. We're talking about the signs of a person that's always the victim. The next one is they have trouble being assertive. Now, what does that mean? We talk about being assertive. What does that mean? Assertive is that person to go get them. That person to have a dream put in front of them and they are willing to go and do whatever it is that they have to do to get to that goal, to get to that dream, to have the lifestyle that they desire to have. They are the person that is going to wake up in the morning with a agenda, with their mind made up, with a level of determination, motivation, and willing to go beyond themselves to get what they want, need, and desire. But those people that play the victim, they feel as though they don't have anything to live for. They don't have any reason to get up and move. They're always feeling lazy. They're always feeling as if they're waiting for someone to come by and do something magical for them when really they can do it for themselves. It reminds me of the story in the Bible where there was a man that had been sitting by this pool called Bethesda for 38 years. He had been sitting there. And what happens is every time the pool stirred up that he could have gotten in to heal himself, he always missed it. And it was only for a period of time, but he kept saying because he couldn't move, but because he had an ailment that he could not get in, that someone got in before he did, that it took him too long to get situated or to get comfortable to get in the pool. And Jesus walked by and said, he asked him, he said, what do you want? Do you want to walk? Do you want to be made whole? And the gentleman responded and he said, yes, I do. And Jesus said, just get up and walk. So oftentimes we find ourselves stagnated or in a place of laziness or in a place that we have come so down on ourselves that we won't even move. We won't even walk. We have allowed circumstances and situations in our life to traumatize us to the point that we feel like we have nothing to live for. But that is a trick of the enemy. And we know that if we wake up in the morning, that's another opportunity for us to get up and move and do something about where we are. I want to encourage you. I want to lift you up and let you know that you do not have to stay stuck in the state that you're in if you want more than what you have. And so those persons that have that victim mentality, those persons that have that attitude of they are waiting for something to happen, they're waiting for someone to come and rescue them. Those are the persons that do not find themselves being assertive, that do not find themselves having that go get 'em attitude, and they find themselves stuck blaming someone else. Okay, so the next one is they feel powerless. They feel powerless. Now, listen, we have a motto that we say that, when we look good, when we feel good, we can move and do things in a greater way. But so oftentimes, because we have put ourselves in a position of victim, and because we have fallen back to society and fallen back to the woes of life, now we feel powerless, or we feel as though we can't do anything, or we feel as though we cannot move. We have no liberty to go beyond what we see in front of us, and we find ourselves in a state of feeling like we are powerless. But we know that if you give yourself the energy, find yourself in a place of knowing what it is that you want, you will definitely feel a sense of power. We want to make sure that we go beyond ourselves, that we read more, that we find ourselves mingling with people that have what we want and have been where we've been. We call that the Rule One syndrome, right? Because we want to strive to someone that's greater than where we are. Anytime that we are the best of our group, then we have put ourselves or limited ourselves to the possibilities of what we can have and what we can be. So we feel powerless when we take our own power away from ourselves by not doing anything about the circumstances and the situations that we are in. We have to be willing to move. We have to be willing to find ourselves in a state of vulnerability to grow. And that's the only way we're going to be able to get to a place that we do not have to be victim or victimized by other people or by the circumstances that life bring upon us. So when you feel powerless, if you just take the less off and replace it with feeling powerful, then it will give you an attitude to put one foot in front of the other. It will give you the attitude to go through brick walls and know that nothing is going to stop you from getting to the place that you want to be. But that is the person that is not willing to be the victim. We're talking about signs of those persons that's always playing the victim. And the truth be told, and if we be honest, when we say about playing the victim, most times people know when they are playing that role. It's one thing to be a victim of something violent, to be a victim of something that has been traumatized, brought about against your will, forced on you. That's one thing. But to play the victim is a whole nother ball game. Playing the victim says, I know exactly what I'm doing. Playing the victim says, I'm going to do this as long as I can to get what I want. But it does not serve you well. It does not serve you in a place to really genuinely get to the place of having what you want, what you need, and what you desire. So we don't want to play the victim. And those people that we recognize as playing the victim, we want to call them up so that they not do that in front of us, especially, and not do that for themselves. We don't want them to shortchange themselves by playing a role that they don't have to play. We're talking about signs that someone is always playing the victim. Okay. The next one is they don't trust others. They don't trust others. Now, here is one thing to not trust someone because you've been burned in the past, because someone has taken your kindness for weakness and have put against you a level of demise. But it's a whole nother thing that when we play this victim role, or when we take on this victim mentality, that we don't trust people around us because we don't want to take responsibility. Because if we begin to trust, people will see the facade that we're putting on, and in return, they will push us to do some things that we don't want to do. And likewise, here it is, we play this victim mentality, we play this role, and people come around us to push us to be greater than we are. But I don't want to do that because now I'm lazy. I feel I'm powerless. I feel like I'm holding a grudge. I feel like I don't want to take responsibility. So I'm not going to trust anyone around me. I'm not going to trust anyone to show me that there's a better way. I'm just going to have the attitude of avoidance. I'm going to have the attitude of beating around the bush or not wanting to be around people that's going to call me up. So I'm going to play the victim. I'm going to play that role so I don't have to do anything beyond where I am. And so when we have this attitude, when we have this level of being in a place that we get comfortable with getting the attention that we want from other people, because we have this level of, look at me or woe is me, then we stay stuck in that place of being the victim. And we'll play that role as long as we can get away with it, as long as people feed it, we'll play that role. But then, we have to get to a place where we grow up, that we have to get to a place where we go beyond ourselves. We have to get to a place where we do something different and not play the victim. Hey, listen, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We're talking about the signs someone is always playing the victim. We're walking through this thing, we're unpacking it, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Well, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. We are talking about signs someone is always playing the victim. Hey, listen, you saw the commercials. We want to make sure that everyone knows that those that need help, Last Chance Weekend is coming up. It is fastly approaching March 10th through the 12th. March 10th through the 12th. We have couples that are signing up, that are getting the help that they need, want, and desire. They are willing to not be victims of their own circumstances and situations. So listen, if you know someone, if it's you yourself needing help, please reach out, call us, sign up, get locked in so that you can experience a transformational, individual transformational, and also marital restoration in your lives. Last Chance Weekend, March 10th through the 12th. Listen, we're talking about the signs that someone is always playing the victim, and we've been walking through this, unpacking what that looks like. So one, you can recognize when someone is playing the victim, and also recognize if you yourself fall into this state of playing the victim. We want to make sure that you have the tools that you need so that way you can recognize it and you not fall victim to your own thoughts and mindset. So the next one we're talking about, they argue a lot. You know that person that they will argue about anything. It's too hot outside. The rain is pouring too hard. I mean, they find any reason to argue or complain about situations and circumstances in their lives. They will pick an argument about the least little thing. And what that does is it's a sign of deflection. If I can bring up an argument about something, then you won't look at me, or it won't put attention on me that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, or doing something that I don't want to do, or doing something that I find myself in this state of not moving. And so those persons, they argue and will argue. They're miserable. Misery does love company. They will pull you in, suck you in to having an argument with them. So you won't focus on the fact that you've been in the same state for a week, a month, a year. You're constantly complaining. You're constantly, no job is ever the best job. No relationship is ever the best relationship. No travel experience is ever the best travel experience. You always find yourself in a state of misery because you want to play the victim and you want to have arguments so that you can deflect so no one calls you up to get out of the state that you are in. We have to understand that being a victim, playing a victim role, you limit yourself to the possibilities of living your best life. And having arguments is not going to solve any problems because most times we have arguments with no resolve. It's just, enough to be able to spew out venom to make sure that we push away the person that is trying to help us, or push away the people or the groups that are trying to help us be better than what we are. And so those persons, they argue a lot. The next one is they feel self-pity. Self-pity. I'm not worthy enough to be where I want to be. I'm not worthy enough. I don't have the education. I don't have the accoutrements to hang with those people. I grew up on the other side of the track. We find ourselves making excuses for why we cannot be all that we desire to be. And so we find ourselves in a place of self-pity, of self-doubt, and we speak to ourselves negatively so that way we don't do anything positive. How crazy is that? We can speak positivity to ourselves. Why? Because life and death is in the power of the tongue. But because we think negative, we speak negative, we act negative, positivity does not come to us. We literally have this barrier up, or this breastplate of negativity, so that when positivity does come, it shoots right off, because we don't want to have the attitude that we can go or think that we can have more than what we have. So we have to understand that carrying self-pity, carrying self-doubt, or being negative is only a hindrance to our life's progression or our self-development. Okay? We're closing this thing out. We're talking about signs that someone is always playing the victim. And lastly, they constantly compare themselves to others. We know people like that. We're living in a society now where social media is the determining factor of a person's success. Let me say that again. We are living in a lifetime now that social media, that determines where we are with our life success, meaning that we compare ourselves to an image of what we see of others. And because we don't look like what they're doing, that I must not be making any progress in life. I must not be going anywhere in life or doing anything in life simply because I'm not where that other person is. I'm not where he is, or I'm not driving what she drives, or my bag is not as big as her bag, or my car is not as nice as his car. And so we find ourselves in this state of comparing to comparing ourselves to other people and not realizing that those same people really want to be like us. We have to get past what we see in front of us and realize that social media, while it is a blessing, can also be a curse, because if you spend too much time on it, you will become the victim of your own image of what you see other people as. And sometimes we have to stop, look at ourselves in the mirror, and know that we are great as well. We have to understand that we are powerful. We have to understand that we can have more than what we desire if we just know that we are not a victim to our own circumstances. We do not have to victimize ourselves based on our circumstances. And we can recognize when someone is always playing the victim. Listen, it's been a lot to unpack today. You've been with me, Roland, Bradley, and listen, tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking about some other things as well to make sure that we give you what you need all week long. We want to make sure that you remember that you have a space, that you have a community that loves you, and we'll see you on tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.